What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Saved by the Code, where I talk about all things cryptocurrencies. If you are a return listener, I deeply appreciate you. And if you are a new listener, I appreciate you just as much. And I would appreciate it if you'd give me a like or subscribe. It greatly helps me out. All right, enough of that. Let's get right into it. So, a little bit of price action to start things out. Bitcoin sitting at a cool $95,023.05. Ethereum 35.65. Tether still at a dollar. Imagine that. Stablecoin meant to be at a dollar's at a dollar. Solana chilling at 236. BNB just hanging out at 649. And everything is very nicely in the green. Stellar has blown people's minds. It came out of nowhere. It was just not doing anything for the longest time, and apparently they are working with some big organization to move money around or something. And they've are up 100% over the last 7 days, and are up a lot more over the course of past 30 days, up 394%. So the market is roaring back to life ever since we got this pro crypto administration in that are just going to remove all these insane regulations and just gut so many things that need to be gutted. But with regards to crypto, the SEC is going to be much more pro crypto. As we've seen, Gary Gensler resigned. He's like, gigs up, can't do it no more. And good riddance to him, Gary. Go home. You're drunk. But, anyways, got all sorts of great news for you. Always got the juice here at Saved by the Code. Lots of juice. And man, oh man, it is just the news that is coming out every day now is like, it's so crazy because this was just all this news is like a pipe dream. Even like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, but like back in like 2017, it was total just like I always believed that it would happen, and it's happening not even quicker than I thought. It's pretty much like right. I knew there would be some struggles. It wasn't going to be like it's 2017. I remember it was like, oh, Bitcoin, holy crap, new paradigm of money. It's going to take over the world because the price went up from like I think it was like $500 to 20,000. That just blew people's minds. That was so crazy. A $10,000 Bitcoin was like coveted, and it seemed like it was impossible. But now it's just so silly. We're almost sitting at a $2 trillion market cap for Bitcoin, and we will cross that mark very soon. And who knows? This is how markets go. Stuff doesn't go straight up, and it's actually good that it doesn't go straight up because when things go up too quickly, they get way overheated and they don't go as high. These breaks along the way are very healthy. They're very healthy. You do not want to go straight up because this is all just human emotion. That's what prices are. It's just that's what price charts are. It is charting human thoughts and emotions. That's what's behind these lines on a price chart. Oh, I want to buy a new house. Oh, I need the girlfriend. Oh, I need the new car. That's all these charts are. It's just humans just being humans, and and it's whenever things go up too quickly, they'll drop very quickly too, and won't go as high as they really should. Um, and so these cool offs are very healthy. And the fact that Bitcoin is holding at 95,000, I mean, it's so strong. It's so strong. And it's a lot stronger than it used to be. We would see these massive price rises back, in 2017, even 2021, you could say. And then there was that another bull market. And it would go up, but then it would like drop by a lot. Like 20, 30%. Like, it would go up to 10 grand, then it would drop to 6,000. That's a significant, 30%, 40% pullback. It's huge. We're literally only seeing a 5%. I mean, it went down to like 92,000, 91 the other day. Big deal. 9% drop. That's so strong. That is because it went from 70 to 100 It didn't hit 100. It was so annoyingly close, but it's only dropped 9%. That's the most it dropped. Let's see. Under 7 days, where'd it go? Oh, all the way down to 90,911. It's over. Bull market's over. Sell all your Bitcoin. It's done. I don't even know why anybody owns Bitcoin still. It's just so, it's over. Like, some people, it's funny. Like a lot, like there are a lot of people that do that. They're like, oh, why, it went from 100 to. It's just so funny. Like, just say that. Bitcoin dropped to 95K. It just sounds so silly. Because a week ago, 95,000 Bitcoin was holy crap. Now it's funny how fast things move in this market and in the world in general anymore. The patience of people is like through the floor. Why aren't we at a $10 million Bitcoin? I want. Daddy needs a new pair of shoes. Daddy needs a new Lambo. Patience, people, patience. It will happen quicker than you think, and it is happening quicker than you think, as I will show you today in this episode. The first story we got here: Vancouver proposes motion to hold Bitcoin as reserve asset. This is like a trend now, and just the beginning of a trend, because the next story is Brazil, and then a bunch of companies. The numbers are just crazy, with the limited supply of Bitcoin and the amount of money flowing into it and the race to acquire as much as possible is on. And whenever these stories come out, Vancouver proposed motion to buy Bitcoin, Brazil, it takes time. They can't just buy Bitcoin. They need the approval of like 100 people, this and that. You gotta sign all these papers. So it takes like a year, because of how slow things move in governments and that whole world, courts and whatnot. But just the fact that this is a story and then that they're proposing it is mind melting, mind boggling, whatever you want to call it. It says here, Ken Sim, the mayor of Vancouver since 2022, has announced plans to diversify the city's financial resources by adding Bitcoin to its balance sheet. The proposal was introduced during a Vancouver City Council meeting on November 26, where Sim submitted a notice of mention titled Preserving the City's Purchasing Power Through Diversification of Financial Resources, Becoming a Bitcoin-Friendly City. Just so wild. And this is all, notice, all happening now that Trump's in. The Trump effect is so real. Love him or hate him, it is a real thing. Brazil is proposed. Like, Brazil's that's a massive country. That's one of the biggest economies in the world. That's the next story I have for you. It's proposing the same thing, a Bitcoin reserve. And El Salvador was the first to do it, and they are just pioneers. I mean, Nayib Bukele, the president of El Salvador, is such a bad A. And there were so many radical things he did that were controversial. Is he a dictator? This and that. And same exact thing is going on in the United States. And now El Salvador is better off than it ever has been in a very, very long time. And and he made Bitcoin legal tender there. They have a Bitcoin reserve. I think literally every day they buy one Bitcoin. I'm not even kidding. That's a thing. And it's something like one Bitcoin or something. And he has made that country better than it has ever been because people were speculating that he's like a dictator. He's just doing all these crazy things, this and that. The country was a mess. There were just gangs, violence everywhere. He was just like, get the out of here. And he just like gutted that place and did the whole Bitcoin thing. We made it legal tender and the treasury, like doing these wild things. And it's booming. It's like a great place now. And El Salvador to start buying one Bitcoin every day. That was back in November 2022. So yes, they do that. Every day they buy one Bitcoin. How much do they hold? How much do they hold? Passes $400 million in holdings. That was March 2024. I'm sure their holdings are over 1 billion now. Let me see here. But nonetheless, he came in there, gutted the place, and just made that country so much better. Make El Salvador great again. And they're mining Bitcoin. They use volcano-fueled geothermal power plants to mine Bitcoin. It's these things that are happening around the world with Bitcoin is beyond what anybody can really comprehend. So many people just think Bitcoin's just whatever, it's this and that. It is so. It is literally digging its claws into the globe, our society, the financial world, and just ripping it apart because it needs ripped apart because our financial system is trash, absolute trash, controlled by banksters and criminals that should be in jail. And this neutral, decentralized money that no one controls, money should be neutral. It should not be subjective. It should be objective, based on math and numbers, which are the most objective thing known to humans, are numbers. And that's what Bitcoin is entirely based off of, is math and numbers. And this is the reason why it's taking over in the best way possible. And I can't find like an article that states how much they hold, but it has to be over $1 billion or $2 billion. And man, Nayib Bukele he's a boss. I got way off topic there. Not really, because this is going to show you that so many cities and countries are taking on this Bitcoin reserve philosophy. Vancouver just recently proposing a bill to do so. And just the fact that this is even being proposed it's just going to continue happening. It's going to be a snowball effect. And so, I mean, you got the BlackRock ETF, MicroStrategy's they're just buying billions in Bitcoin. BlackRock's ETF, all these countries. There is not a lot of Bitcoin out there. This is where the $1 million Bitcoin comes from. And I think that is low. Low. This cycle, maybe not low, but in 5-10 years, low. Low. We'll cross 1 million, and it'll just like $100,000 will be low. 200,000 will be Bitcoin dropped to 200K. Oh man, what are we gonna do? The same exact thing as it dropping to 90K. Same thing. And I know it's hard for people to wrap their heads around, but that is exactly what has happened from Bitcoin going to 100 to 1,000, from 1,000 to 10,000, from 10,000 to 100,000. The same thing happens every single time. Like 10,000 was like, oh, I can't even imagine. Now it's a joke. Bitcoin would be over if it was at $10,000 now. It just continues to happen. But like I said, Brazil, Congress discusses new law for strategic Bitcoin reserves. It's just happening globally. And they want to dedicate 5% of its foreign reserves to Bitcoin, which would be $3 billion. Oh. It's surreal that this is happening. I knew it would happening. I knew it would happen someday. The US, Brazil, Vancouver, Bhutan. Bhutan is crazy because they have been mining Bitcoin like secretly. They never announced it for like years, and now they hold like billions in it. Let's see here. Bhutan Bitcoin. How Bhutan quietly built 750 million in Bitcoin holdings. Just never said anything. You know, that's how they are over there. They're just so humble and just like, you know, monks. Just they got it figured out over there. You know, with meditation and. But Bhutan is just this tiny little country that just really. Bhutan has 13,000 Bitcoin, twice the amount held by El Salvador. That was 72 days ago. So we could. El Salvador's got like 7,000 Bitcoin. It's just these little things are going to add up and melt people's faces and brains. People will just be walking around with their skin melting off because Bitcoin's price goes so high. I mean, next story here. Marathon mining. Even miners are buying Bitcoin. Like the the operations that create Bitcoin are buying Bitcoin. Here, post on X. With our 0% interest, 1 billion convertible notes offering, we are excited to share an update. They acquired an additional 703 Bitcoin, bringing the total to 6474 Bitcoin and an average price of 95,395 per Bitcoin. And in total, they own 34,794 Bitcoin, currently valued at 3.3 billion. Based on a spot price of 95K. I mean, and they're leaving 160 million on the table to buy Bitcoin in the case of more Bitcoin in the case of a dip. This is just one mining operation, just ready to deploy 160 million dollars in case Bitcoin dips. The amount of money that's sloshing around and just waiting to buy up dips. This is why Bitcoin won't dip below 90K again. I bet there's so many buy orders at 90K that it will never go below that again. It's just global. Here's another one. The next story. SOS Limited stock soars after $50 million Bitcoin purchase announcement. This is another miner, Chinese mining company that operates some mining operations in Wyoming or something, but nonetheless, they bought Bitcoin too. SOS Limited, a commodity trading firm, saw its stock trade higher after the firm announced its board of directors approved a $50 million investment to purchase Bitcoin. At Wednesday's market close, the stock was trading under the ticker SOS was up 42%. It's just like MicroStrategy. They buy Bitcoin and their stock price just went up like insane amounts, like 600, 700%. I just don't really have words to describe how, like, is anybody paying attention? Like, this stuff is, this is the opportunity for life-changing money. Life-changing money. Generational wealth is going to be generated. All of these things add up, and there is not a lot of Bitcoin out there. And it is still early. You can still throw that word out there. It's not super early anymore, but it's not too late. It is not too late whatsoever. Here's a quote. Bitcoin market performance is robust and supported by positive developments such as the launch of several Bitcoin-related ETF options and ongoing improvements in the U.S. regulatory environment for digital assets, said Yandai Wang. What's with the Wang last name? It's so funny. Yandai Wang, chairman and CEO of SOS Limited. You go, Yandai. We believe this investment plan will further enhance the company's overall competitiveness and profitability in the digital asset investment sectors, adds Wang. That's what Wang added. And then it just says there's an additional in this article. Japanese investment firm Metaplanet Incorporated saw its shares rise by 15% last week following its latest Bitcoin purchase. The purchase increased the firm's total holdings to 1,142.2 Bitcoin, valued at $104 million. Michael Saylor's MicroStrategy, blah, 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 blah. Purchasing billions in Bitcoin, yada, yada, yada. Whatever. It's like annoying at this point, isn't it? Everybody's buying Bitcoin. Why isn't the price at $20 billion? There are real sell pressures regardless of all this good news, but it can't be held back forever. And the numbers just speak for themselves. The most scarce asset on the planet whenever the demand rises and the supply diminishes. That's the thing with Bitcoin, is every 4 years the supply gets cut in half. The inflation rate gets cut in half. Supply diminishes, demand goes up. What do you think happens with price? Is there any other thing on the planet that does that? All right, and then here's another article. Even though, Morocco, even like these little, like Baton, Morocco. Here's this article's headline: Morocco moves to legalize cryptocurrencies and explore digital currency. They banned it in 2017. The Trump effect is so real. Look at all this stuff that's happening all of a sudden after November 5th. Morocco, Brazil, Vancouver, all these companies, this and that. Love them or hate them. If you are into crypto, that should be like your number one policy that you vote on. You either have a crypto unfriendly or friendly administration. That's what it comes down to. Here it says Morocco's ban on Bitcoin and other cryptos in 2017 failed to prevent the widespread use of digital assets among its population. That's the thing too. Bitcoin's unstoppable. Cryptocurrency's unstoppable. It was such a mess from like 2017 to like 2020 to like now. It's just a mess of incompetent people trying to stop an unstoppable thing. It's like trying to stop people from like breathing air. Like, what are you doing? You just look like a moron. In addition to legalizing cryptocurrencies, Morocco is exploring the possibility of launching a CBDC, a central bank digital currency. Oh, gosh. No one wants that. No one wants that. They're centralized garbage. And they already exist. It's called the money in your bank account. That's what a CBDC is, a centralized central bank digital currency. It's the same thing. The money in your bank account is a central bank digital currency. It's digital. It's not real. You can't touch it, and it's inflated into oblivion by a few guys in a room. It's pathetic. Our financial system is absolutely pathetic. You can't even send wires like on holidays or like today's Thanksgiving. I can send as much Bitcoin as I want to anybody in the world right now. Right now. I could send $1 billion. If I had $1 billion and I wanted, hey, happy Thanksgiving, here's $1 billion. No questions asked. I literally would get into my app, boom, press some buttons, and there it goes. 10 minutes later, that person's got $1 billion in their Bitcoin wallet. The power of Bitcoin is just unmatched, and it can't be stopped, and these fools are finally realizing it. They're not, it's just, if you can't beat them, you join them, and that's exactly what's happening now. It's a beautiful thing, and it's going to underpin everything. All currencies will just be based on Bitcoin as the peg, backed by the most massive decentralized computing network on the planet, backed by math and numbers, objective math and numbers, owned by nobody, neutral, censorship resistant. It is a beautiful thing, and these things come from bad happenings, bad, unfortunate events. Bitcoin wouldn't exist if our financial system didn't suck so much. If the financial crisis didn't happen. There's always an equal and opposite reaction. It's such a true thing. With every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. So true. Bitcoin is that equal and opposite reaction to our failed, pathetic financial system. Your bank, the world financial whatever, I don't even know what they're called. They're such incompetent, antiquated people. That's all I'll say about that. All right. Moving on from just the slew of countries and companies and cities proposing a Bitcoin reserve, all just so conveniently happening after November 5th. What happened on November 5th? Just ask you, what went on? What happened? All of a sudden, now everybody wants Bitcoin and wants a Bitcoin reserve. Huh. I wonder what happened. I implore you to do your research. Anyways, moving on from all that. No, Michael Saylor doesn't control Bitcoin. So there's been articles floating around that because Michael Saylor, he's the CEO of MicroStrategy, one of the first publicly traded companies to, well, not one of the first publicly traded company to announce that they bought Bitcoin for their treasury in August of 2020. So they did it way before everybody. This guy is he's so obsessed with Bitcoin, and the way in which he talks about it is beautiful. Like he relates it to like the discovery of electricity and the V8 engine and all of these just such meaningful inventions and that have changed the course of humanity for the better forever. And the way in which he talks about it is just elegant. I implore you to look up some of his podcasts that he's on. But anyways, he owns a lot of Bitcoin, like 380,000 or something, which is more than 1%. But the thing with Bitcoin is that it's not like other assets. Just because you own the asset doesn't mean you control it. Because he has no hand in controlling the network itself, like the mining network, which is so vastly decentralized that no one person, one, could take it over. You could maybe argue some situation where it would be possible, but the incentive is just completely gone. It's not there. So what do? You spend billions of dollars to get all the computer hardware, you set up the space, get the electricity, and you take over the network, and then the very asset that you hold is worthless now because you control the whole network, and it completely defeats the purpose of Bitcoin, which is being decentralized and not owned by anybody. Just because you hold a lot of Bitcoin does not whatsoever mean that you control it at all. And this article is great because he says, I have to call BS on the claim that Michael Saylor is now Bitcoin's overlord and can single-handedly decide its fate. That's just ridiculous. It is ridiculous. These are just coming from people that don't really understand how Bitcoin works, I would argue. It says here that some people declare that Saylor is the second most powerful person in Bitcoin after Satoshi Nakamoto, who is the creator of Bitcoin, the anonymous creator, a group of people. He argued Saylor can dictate terms by threatening to dump MicroStrategy's giant Bitcoin stash if he doesn't get his way. Okay. First off, the guy is the biggest Bitcoin proponent on the planet. Yes, he's amassed a large amount of Bitcoin. And yes, he could dump large amounts of Bitcoin if he really, really wanted to. And crash the price, whatever. But like I just showed you, there are countries, there are cities, there are companies. Just because Michael Saylor starts dumping his Bitcoin, do you really think everybody, and the reserve in the U.S., the reserves, baton mining Bitcoin, like, okay, big deal. Bye, Michael Saylor. Flick him off the map and see you later. The incentive is just not there whatsoever. And he doesn't have a say in where, Bitcoin's destiny or like where it goes. These people that are claiming that he controls Bitcoin act like he's like the CEO or something, like the self-proclaimed CEO. He's a massive advocate for it, and he sees the potential, and he's literally playing this. He's trolling the system. He is trolling the system. He is taking out debt and buying massive amounts of Bitcoin with it. And he doesn't have to pay off that debt for years. It's just literally taking trash money and putting it into good, sound money, Bitcoin. You literally put trash in to Bitcoin and it spits out gold. But it's better than gold, so it spits out Bitcoin. It says here, no matter how many Satoshi Saylor accumulates, he cannot unilaterally impose changes on a decentralized leaderless network. Bitcoin derives resilience precisely from presenting such dominance. So just because he owns a ton does not mean a single thing. So don't be afraid if you see articles, oh, Michael Saylor is this and that, he's gonna... Okay, goodbye. Thank you for your opinion. Bye-bye now. Who knows? Maybe he is some evil guy. And even if he is, like I mentioned, there are people, countries, companies. It's just, there's a lot of people that would want to buy his Bitcoin. They would go, see you, buddy. Thanks. We'll ride it to 1 million while you just sold all your Bitcoin. Like, what are you even saying? All right. Moving on to the next story. This is a massive development that just happened yesterday, or the day before maybe, the 26th or 27th of November. Court overturns U.S. sanctions against cryptocurrency mixer Tornado Cash. Tornado Cash was what's called a mixer, so on Ethereum. So if you want to make your money, it's basically a launder. It's a way to launder your crypto, to make it private and eliminate the link between you and it. So it's a way to for you to achieve privacy, whether it be for illicit or illicit purposes. You know, so many people assume that if you want to be private, you're doing something illegal. It's just not the case a lot of times, the majority of the time. But it was ruled that the U.S. Treasury Department acted outside its authority when it sanctioned cryptocurrency mixer Tornado Cash in 2022 and accused it of helping launder over $7 billion for North Korean hackers and other malicious cyber actors, a U.S. appeals court ruled. So this basically says that they say that this code running on Ethereum, just freely running, it's just like a neutral thing. You can do whatever you want from it. There, people created the code, but it is up to the users what they do with it. So the U.S. Treasury Department, of course, overstepped its bounds like so many other government agencies do, and it pretty much made it illegal to use. And they reversed their ruling just 2 or 3 days, like 2 days ago. And 6 users lawsuit challenging. Yeah, I mean, and they won. It's just, notice what happened on November 5th. All of a sudden, this gets overturned. Whoa, what's going on out there? It's just overstepping bounds. This is neutral computer code. How do you outlaw that? It's just ridiculous. The judge who did this, who was appointed by Donald Trump during his first 4-year term, said the design of that privacy-enabling software code rendered it incapable of being owned or deemed legally as property. The real-world downsides of certain uncontrollable technology falling outside of OFAC's sanctioning authority. Yeah, you can't control something that's neutral and not owned by anybody. It's the common sense is coming back to the world. Isn't it a beautiful thing? It says here, 2 Tornado Cash founders were separately charged last year with money laundering and sanctions violations by federal prosecutors in New York. What do you know, New York? It says here, this is a historic win for crypto and all who cares about defending liberty. Yes, it really is. You have the right to privacy and to do whatever the F you want with your money. I mean, sure, there's going to be some illegal things that happen. Okay, welcome to Earth. Welcome to Earth. I don't know if anybody's noticed, but when you make something illegal, it doesn't go away. It's just these incompetent people that have been in power, that make these regulations and laws, are just so moronic. Like, if you haven't noticed that yet, you are a moron. And the lack of rational thought and critical thinking and common sense and pretty much everything is why these things happen. And look at that, it's getting reversed. What a beautiful thing. What a beautiful freaking thing. Oh, just another story here. Next story. Metaplanet aims to raise $62 million from stock acquisition rights to buy more Bitcoin. Wow. Another one. It's a Japanese investment firm that wants to buy a bunch of Bitcoin. Whoa. Look at that. Another one. No big deal. Nothing to see here. It just doesn't stop. And it will continue happening. And like I've mentioned in previous videos, these companies don't, and these countries won't start doing this until an asset reaches a certain market cap and has an established reputation. They're not going to buy Bitcoin at a $500 million market cap. Even it's only like 5 years old or 10 years old, and it takes time. It takes a lot of time for these things to transpire. Bitcoin has only been around for 15 years. 15 years! Wild, crazy, mind-melting, brain-bending, whatever you want to call it. It's hard for us humans to comprehend this Bitcoin thing because we've never seen anything like it. But if you just look at the numbers and you see what's going on and you pay attention, you see where this is all going. So, it's just, another company wanting to raise $62 million to buy Bitcoin. Just another one. No big deal. Nothing to see here. All right. That does it for the news portion of this episode. And I've been doing this portion of my videos at the end of every video, just like a little educational juice, just a little something, food for thought type deal, something for your brain to eat up, food for thought, brain food. And in the last episode, I talked about Bitcoin mining difficulty. And in this episode, I will be discussing public key cryptography and just the basics of what it is, because I don't even understand the mathematics behind it, to be completely honest. I'm not a cryptographer or anything like that, but I do understand the basics of it. And so here we go. So public and private keys in Bitcoin are essential to its functioning. You can think of a private key as just that. It's meant to be private. It's like your password to your email. You're meant to keep it private, and it allows you to access your emails and send emails to other people. Your public key, on the other hand, can be equated to your email address, which is meant to be public. You can display it, you can show people it, and be like, send me emails here. In Bitcoin, it's your public key. You can send Bitcoin there. But they can't access your Bitcoin or your emails or send emails out to other people without your password, or in Bitcoin, your private key. It's literally a key. So Bitcoin all lives on the blockchain. It's not on your computer. It's not on a device. It's on the blockchain, and you need that private key to access that portion of the blockchain. It's literally like a private key is the same thing as a key to a lockbox at your bank. You need that specific key to access whatever's in that box. It's the same exact thing in Bitcoin. You need that private key. However, private keys are exponentially more secure than a lockbox key at a bank or a password for your email. The reason being is because the amount of private keys that exist out there. So whenever you generate this private key, you don't just create it. It's not like a password that you come up with your email. You type in whatever, I love kitties 42, it's something that is generated randomly, and it's a number, and the amount of private keys that exist is 2 to the 256th power. And that is such a ridiculously massive number that there are less atoms in the universe. Less atoms in the universe. Just like your brain can't even Think of that. That's how many private keys exist in Bitcoin. And so whenever you generate a private key, it is just plucked out of that pool of numbers. It's just plucked. It's just boop, just a random number plucked. And how you can think of this is, imagine a pool table the size of the universe, okay? And you have your cue ball. And you hit that cue ball a random number of times, let's say 1 trillion times. Wherever that cue ball lands is your public key. So your public key is derived from your private key. Your public key, like I said, is your email address, is derived from basically your password, your private key. But it can't go the other way around. You cannot derive a private key from a public key. It can only be a public key from a private key. Okay, so it's a one-way function. And like I said, you hit that cue ball on a pool table the size of the universe 1 trillion times. Wherever it lands is your public key. So just imagine that. The possibility of you hitting a cue ball again and it landing in the same exact spot as that other cue ball did is impossible. And it would take you 1,000,000 years, more than that probably, to hit a cue ball that landed in the exact same spot as any other private key. Just imagine you just hitting a cue ball, trying to hit it at the same exact spot. It's bouncing off all the cushions, and the size of the universe, trying to land a cue ball in the same exact spot as another private key. It's impossible. And that's what Bitcoin relies upon for as an aspect of its security, and why private key and public key cryptography are used for this purpose, to access Bitcoin with, because it's near impossible to guess a private key in Bitcoin with Bitcoin on it, because it's near impossible to land a cue ball in the same exact spot as on a pool table that's as big as the universe. It's the same exact idea. It's just there's such a ridiculously large number of private keys that it is impossible to guess one. Even if you were to guess like 1 trillion numbers a second for 1,000,000 years, you wouldn't guess a private key with Bitcoin on it. That's just how massive that number is. It's, like I said, just to reiterate, the private key is what allows you to access that portion of your Bitcoin, whatever you fund that address with. It's the key that allows you to access that on the blockchain, that portion of the blockchain. Your lockbox. There's 21 million Bitcoin. Imagine 21 million lockboxes, even though you don't have to buy a whole coin. But anyways, just imagine a wall of 21 million lockboxes. Your private key accesses one of those lockboxes. It's the same thing. And your public key is what you can show to other people to send you money. There's more aspects to this, but I just wanted to go over a basic, just a sprinkle. Maybe it'll spur your imagination and you'll look more into this. It's so interesting in public key and private key cryptography. And also another aspect of it is the whole how Bitcoin solved the Byzantine generals problem, which I'll probably talk about in the next episode, because I just want to keep it one thing every episode. A lot of people don't know that Bitcoin solved a problem that was thought to be unsolvable in computer science, called the Byzantine generals problem, and it solved it with this public key cryptography very elegantly. And it's just so interesting because a lot of people don't know that Bitcoin solved a problem thought to be unsolvable. It was the first thing to do it in a decentralized system, decentralized manner. So maybe you want to look into that. It's called Byzantine generals problem, but I'm going to talk about it in the next episode in more detail. But just for today, I just wanted to touch on public key cryptography. Sorry if that sounded complicated or whatever. I tried to make it as simple as possible without even getting into any of because I don't even know how the mathematics work, to be completely real. It's just super interesting. Yeah. That does it for today, folks. I deeply appreciate everybody that tuned in today. I hope you learned something. I hope you laughed, whether it be at me or with me. And just keep on cryptoing. All right. Until next time, give me a like, give me a subscribe. I deeply appreciate it, and I bid you farewell on your cryptocurrency journey.